here to talk about rap shit and rap shit only. And I want to start with the epidemic of men, because this is going to be a recap of the first two episodes because they just came out and they discuss very interesting matters and present them in a non-traditional way of seeing them. Let's talk. They presented it in a real life manner. So episode one and the cooking. You see, when these things are appropriated by people that are wealthy, when signifiers of poverty, of struggle are appropriated by people that are wealthy and worn by people that have privilege and, exist in certain skin tones that are, the way you would say the term is similar to, what is it called? Might. It rhymes with might. So if you get what I'm trying to say, that's what I'm trying to say. But when people like that take on these attributes that are usually associated with other people that do not have the privileges they have, it's seen as quirky, as artsy, as, oh my goodness, you're different. Look, they're doing a different thing, and the way they do it, the way they're able to maintain success is through the backlash of all of that. And that's what episode 1 discusses, the backlash of appropriation. Who is really holding who accountable? And can we even hold people accountable for appropriation? How does that work? Because it seems so ridiculous when when Shauna is saying, oh, isn't this a little bit disrespectful to the people that need to do this in order to take care of their families? I took a pause because it's funny for it to be said in that way because you don't really consider it in that way, but that's what a lot of times is happening. People that are doing the thing shown, they're usually doing it because there are no other options around to earn money and to earn money quickly. And it's not, it's kind of odd for you to think about it in that way. And I'm glad Issa put it in there because I had to take a pause because at first I was laughing and then it is real. And doing things like that kind of takes away from it, especially with the person of privilege being involved with it, especially with the police raids. They do happen and they do cause many families to be apart and do end in lives lost. And that is evident through the past 2 years you saw. And even before that, it's just the stories that are really that really were taken or really gained publicity were around 2 years ago of what can happen. And another thing, episode two really colorism. It's interesting because the people that the guy is taking out or telling you must go are the same shade as him or darker than him. And wait, let me go back to episode 1 actually, because Shauna's parents are immigrants. At least her mom is, and I feel like her mom is East African. I'm not sure, but I believe that she's East African, or I don't know what else she could be. Because the actress is East African, so I am assuming they would cast an East African mom, but maybe they made her different ethnically. But it really resonated with me, especially with African parents or immigrant parents. When you want to go to a creative field, they see it as less valuable, and there's this a value of academics, of education, because of colonialism and because the message that has been sent through to colonized countries is that, in order to succeed, you must adopt the language of the colonizer. And how do you do that? Through education. That's how you compete in a colonizer created market. There's no other way to succeed unless you do it through academics and you assimilate yourself into the new system that you have been left behind, which it's so interesting to think about how so much more is placed on academics when you could argue that so many people are trying to be doctors. You know how many people send in applications every year, but no one's able to be a doctor. So you could argue that the odds are similar. There's similar odds to succeeding in both places, even pharmacy, even all these industries like nursing. Nursing is really taxing, but nursing is something that a lot of African parents want their children to do. And I'm going to, because I go back and forth because I remember a lot of things and then I have to take myself back and say, okay, let's let's discuss that. But episode 2 was really interesting because you also see an aspect of desirability, because I am of the mindset still that Shauna is neurodivergent because she has such a strong inclination towards justice. And some would say that, oh, she doesn't have a strong inclination towards justice because she was doing fraud. But that's different because the people she was defrauding, they had no morals and they treated people terribly, you know? So it makes sense as a compass. And there were also really wealthy people that didn't care much about what was going to happen. So in terms of that, it makes sense that she would do fraud, but she draws a line when it comes to these issues that she's really has put thought through and is really passionate about and will speak up. And it's hard in the industry that she's in and trying to navigate that. And also I want to talk about Cliff with Shauna and desirability and how Shauna had to become sort of submissive and a certain type of image in order for Cliff to feel comfortable liking her. And once she was out of that image, Cliff said, no more. And this control that men try to have over women's expression, and how, for example, with Cliff, the expression through rap was fine as long as Shauna remained looking a certain way and presenting herself in a certain way. But once she started being more assertive, presenting herself in a different way, being more expressive with her body, Cliff immediately started rolling out the insults. That's when he got jealous of her and started competing with her. And it's fascinating to hear Shauna say, oh, I thought Cliff would make me better. And what that means and the place a man holds, and especially a man of Cliff's background who is into politics, has done all the college, is supposedly a critical thinker, but and is supposedly against all the isms that are bad, but still in his personal life does not carry the beliefs that he has in the outside world of people should be free and people should be able to do whatever and be whoever they want to be. That was really interesting that Shauna saw Cliff as a point or as someone who would make her better. And I had to sit down. I had to sit down with that, because for so long we are told as femmes that the people that define us are the men that we are with. It's that we do have an identity of within ourselves, but we don't become fully human and fully seen until we're with a man. And you can see that with, I don't know, someone said their wedding announcement got more on Instagram, for example, their wedding announcement got more likes than, or the engagement announcement got more likes than any post that they'd ever made. And that was an interesting idea to me, because what do you mean? Because they said they posted about going to college and graduating and getting their degree, and then they posted about the engagement, and that got the most likes. And it's interesting and to see that still in many ways we are still defined as femmes by the people we're with. We're not fully whole, we're not fully recognized as being complete unless, especially in a heterosexual context, unless you're with a man. But let's keep going. Let's keep these good vibes going. The thing I want to really focus in on is the colorism. And I know I mentioned a touch bit about it, a touch bit of colorism, colorism, a dash about colorism earlier on, and how the man was the same shade or even darker at times than the women he was insulting, or he was saying, you gotta get out. And it's really interesting for him to face that and face him, because I don't feel like men are able to face themselves enough, because society really encourages men to keep going, because there's so many things that even men themselves, when they look at it, this is affecting you also, my love. This is affecting you also. It's that he is unable to see himself or he is unaware that he is overseeing himself in the people that he is chasing out, that he himself does not like himself enough to acknowledge that he deserves to take space up in the room, and that there's an insecurity inherently in him and society that has told him, you have to choose. Why do I sound like I'm running out of breath? I sound like I'm rapping. There is this thing societally that has told him, they can only be lighter than you. Everyone you partner with can only be lighter than you, and what damage that does to the psyche. And it's interesting also the bystanders, the people that don't say anything. One of the girls who's like, don't say anything, I'm here to have fun. It's not that serious. And I think it shows that the moments in which we have to kind of put our morals in our pockets, we have to be delusional, stop thinking for a second in order to enjoy things, because I feel like the way society is set up, it's kind of like, it's not me. It's not me yet, so I could still enjoy. I still have the fun times. I could still party it up because I'm not the one on the chopping block. But once it's you on the chopping block and it gets closer to being you and you and you, then is when people start taking action and speaking up. Which I feel, I don't understand that. Why take action when you're the one on the chopping block? At that point, you can't do, nothing can be done. And I appreciate Shauna for really speaking up and also knowing the names of the Wu-Tang Clan. I did not know the names. I did not know the names. But I didn't grow up on hip hop as much as a lot of people did, because what I was listening to was the Backstreet Boys and I was listening to Backstreet Boys, Westlife, and no support to Justin Timberlake. Ew, that's a nasty man. Nasty man. And no support to him, but the people I was listening to were very much, they collaborated with people that did hip hop, but I also grew up in a house that was very strict. So my access to hip hop growing up in the 2000s was really not present because I grew up in a very Christian household, and so everything was kind of protected. The media I watched was very governed by my family. And so I had to either hear it through a friend, which was also difficult at the time because at the time the culture that was available was behind in a lot of African countries. So something would be happening in America and I would get access to it 2 years later or 3 years later. Now it's very fast. You know, we got the Wi-Fi everywhere. We got the Wi-Fi in the matatus. And so now easy access, and we're one of the most connected countries in the world, so now it's easy access. So growing up now is quite different than it was for me when I was growing up. But let me go back to the point. The point is that speaking up is really difficult because once you speak up and you tell a man that they are wrong, you speak up and tell a man that they're wrong, they will embarrass you. And that's how when we see the champagne being poured on her. Because men will do these insidious, will be so embarrassed inside themselves that they will want you to feel it and they will transfer that embarrassment to you. And that's what I dislike. I dislike that very much. And what I was saying is that societally, men are not allowed to feel pain, and the pain that they hide, the pain that they're told to swallow, goes and infects all of us. Because for me, what I dislike with all these movements is that no one is saying, okay, we don't want to, everyone is like, we don't want this type of man. We don't. But no one is pinpoint, because I feel like the reason the manosphere has been able to make a resurgence and a comeback is because the definition of man is still being searched for, because men are being told, don't be this, don't do that. But no one is saying, do this, do that. And I understand it's not the responsibility of the people asking for the don't do it to say, do this instead, you know, like an infomercial. But at the same time, I feel that there's this loss of identity and know where to place yourself and to place the pain as a man, because men are denied of so much and they're not able to process that of yet how much richer their world would be if they were more vulnerable, if they spoke out more, if they didn't hide themselves and were allowed to be their full beings. Because I feel like both parties in I'm saying this in a non-binary context because I look at both sides of the spectrum when it comes to men and women having these conversations, and I see that, oh, you guys, you really want the same thing, but you're not saying it in ways each other understand. And it's not in a way that men are from Mars, women are from Venus. No, it's not in that way. We're on the same planet, we're living on the same planet. But I think there's just a lack of understanding or willingness to understand sometimes. And women have tried to understand for a long time, and women are getting tired of doing the understanding work. And it's completely, I get it. It gets to a point where it's just exhausting. And so it's easier to just take a step back. But we need to do this work together. We need to each acknowledge the messaging that we are receiving, because this moves me on to the next point, which is back in episode 1 when Mia was leaving and Lamont came to the party, and Mia, in the moment, she wanted intimacy. But I think right now a lot of intimacy is associated with physicality, and Lamont wanted to emotionally be there. And men are robbed of that sometimes because there's this expectation that a man shows up and instantly drop those trousers, drop those leggings, where party is getting started. And there's no space for men to just exist emotionally. And I think it's tied up with the physicality of everything. And I feel like that's a thought that we need to sit with. Because Mia really wanted emotional intimacy, but she has been taught the way to receive intimacy is through physicality with a man. And so she wasn't willing to stay with Lamont in that moment and just talk it through, because she herself was blocking herself from being vulnerable. Because her too, she doesn't know that the way she is taught to be vulnerable is through physicality with men. When it comes to men, like, let's just have a chat, babe. You don't, not every day. Not every day we have to be doing something. Not every day. You know? And so I know I've talked about a lot of things, but yeah, those are my thoughts about the episode.